On May 19, 2024, Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi died in a helicopter crash, along with several top officials. He was known as the Butcher of Tehran, and after his death, Iran was divided. Some mourned, others quietly hoped this could be the beginning of change. More freedom, less fear. But one question was on everyone's mind. What happened to his wife, Jamileh Alamolhoda? She wasn't just a first lady. She had real power in the country. Some even believed she could replace her husband and become the next president of Iran. But then, she vanished. Where is she now? Why was her name suddenly erased from the political scene? And could she still come back? Stay with us, because in this video, we'll uncover what really happened to Iran's most powerful woman, her most shocking public statements, and how her own allies turned against her. To understand why Jamileh Alamolhoda stands out so much in Iran's political system, we have to look back, because there was a time when women were not only visible in Iran's leadership, they were celebrated. Before the Islamic Revolution of 1979, Iran was a monarchy. Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi ruled the country alongside his wife, Empress Farah Pahlavi, or Shabanu, as she was officially crowned. She was the first woman in Iranian history to hold that title. Farah wasn't just a decorative figure. She opened museums, supported artists, funded education, and gave Iranian women a sense of presence and pride. It was a golden age of culture, fashion, cinema, and modern thinking, but it came with a price. While the royal couple lived in luxury, much of the population struggled with poverty and inequality. The palaces, diamonds, and elite parties became symbols of disconnection and resentment. In 1979, that resentment exploded into revolution. The Shah and Empress fled into exile, and Iran transformed into an Islamic republic. From that moment on, everything changed, especially for women. A new conservative leadership took control. Their view was clear: a woman's place is in the home. Yes, Iran's leaders had wives, but none of them held power. They wore the chador, the long black cloak covering hair and body, and disappeared from public view. No speeches, no interviews, no political activity. For decades, the silence was total. Until 2021. When Ebrahim Raisi became president, few expected anything different. But his wife, Jamileh Alamolhoda, didn't stay in the shadows. She appeared in public. She gave interviews. She traveled with her husband on international visits. She organized conferences, led state-backed programs, and defended the Islamic Republic's policies on women. She wore the chador. She spoke the language of the system, but she also stepped into a space no Iranian first lady had entered in decades. Some called her brave. Others called her dangerous. But one thing was clear: Jamileh Alamolhoda was no ordinary first lady. And now, with her husband gone, many believe she is preparing for something much bigger. Jamileh Sadat Alamolhoda was born in 1965 in Mashhad, Iran's second-largest city and one of its most religious. Her father is Ahmad Alamolhoda, a powerful conservative cleric who leads Friday prayers in Mashhad and serves on the Assembly of Experts, the body that selects Iran's supreme leader. In 1983, at just 18 years old, Jamila married Ebrahim Raisi, a young, rising figure in Iran's judiciary system. Over the years, while Raisi climbed the ranks of the Islamic Republic, Jamileh focused on education. She earned her PhD in philosophy of education from Tarbiyat Modarrez University in 2001. Later, she joined Shahid Beheshti University as a professor in the Department of Leadership and Educational Development. She taught courses like philosophy of higher education, teaching methods, Islamic anthropology, and theoretical foundations of education. Her students described her as intelligent, strict, and deeply ideological. But teaching wasn't her only ambition. In 2013, she founded the Institute of Fundamental Studies of Science and Technology, also based at Shahid Beheshti University. Its stated mission was to create science and technology policies based on Islamic and philosophical perspectives, blending religion with research. In March 2020, she was appointed Secretary of the Council for the Transformation and Renovation of Iran's Educational System under the powerful Supreme Council of the Cultural Revolution, one of the most ideologically influential bodies in Iran. Behind the scenes, her name kept appearing in more and more official appointments. In May 2023, she was named to the Executive Board for Faculty Recruitment at Tehran University, another major step. At this point, it became clear, Jamila wasn't just a professor. She was someone with growing reach, especially in fields like education, values, and cultural policy, which are central to the Islamic Republic's identity. In the next chapters, you'll learn the whole truth about what happened to Iran's former First Lady after her husband's death. But before we continue, may I ask you something? What if your iPhone could help you sleep better, reduce stress, and enhance your daily well-being? Heartscape analyzes your heart rhythms to reveal your unique biopatterns, helping you understand exactly when you're most energetic and what specifically helps your body recover. No generic advice, just personalized insights tailored precisely to you. Designed with simplicity in mind, just place your finger on your iPhone camera for 30 seconds. Heartscape discovers what really works for your body. Users report reducing medication dependency as they discover natural ways to lower stress levels by 85%. Personalized sound therapy, tuned to your exact heartbeat, improves sleep quality by addressing the root causes of nighttime restlessness. 87% of users report feeling more refreshed in just 1 week. Weekly reports show precisely how your daily activities affect your heart health, cognitive function, and energy patterns. Knowledge that empowers your independent lifestyle. Join thousands who've discovered their body's hidden patterns. Download Heartscape today from the App Store and get 3 days free access to all premium features. Finally understand what your body has been trying to tell you all along. Download now. To understand Jamileh Alamolhoda's story, we also need to understand her husband, Ebrahim Raisi, because his rise to power shaped everything about her public life. Raisi was born in 1960, also in the religious city of Mashhad, just like Jamila. His father died when he was 5, and from a young age, he studied religion and Islamic law. As a teenager, he joined the revolution against the Shah, and after the Islamic Republic was formed in 1979, he quickly entered the justice system. At just 20 years old, he was made a local prosecutor near Tehran, and soon he became known not for kindness, but for harsh punishments. In 1988, something terrible happened. After the Iran-Iraq War ended, the government decided to secretly execute thousands of political prisoners. Raisi was one of the 4 men on the committee that signed off on the killings. These prisoners had already been sentenced. Many had served most of their time, but Raisi and the others ordered them to be hanged, one by one. Because of this, many Iranians and international groups began calling him the Butcher of Tehran. And he didn't stop there. Over the years, Raisi became one of the most powerful judges in Iran. He was known for supporting public executions, arresting activists, and crushing protests. When people spoke out against the government, especially young women, they were beaten, jailed, or worse. In 2021, he ran for president and won. But the election was strange. Most serious opponents were not allowed to run. Many people boycotted the vote. Still, Raisi was officially declared president with 62% of the votes. He promised to fight corruption and help the poor. But soon after taking office, food prices soared, protests spread, and the police became even more violent. When Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old woman, died after being arrested for not wearing her hijab properly, the country exploded. Protests erupted across Iran, but instead of listening, Raisi's government ordered a brutal crackdown. Over 500 people were killed, including children. More than 20,000 were arrested. Despite this, Raisi stayed loyal to the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, and followed the strictest religious line. He supported rules that forced women to wear hijabs, banned many freedoms, and silenced critics. So while Jamileh Alamolhoda spoke calmly to the media, her husband was running a government built on fear. That was the man she stood beside, in interviews, on stage, in international trips. And now that he's gone, people wonder, does she share his beliefs, or was she more powerful and more complex than we ever realized? When Ebrahim Raisi became president in August 2021, everyone expected things to stay the same, especially when it came to women in power. In Iran, first ladies were never seen. They didn't give interviews, they didn't travel. Most people didn't even know their names. But Jamileh Alamolhoda changed that. At first glance, she looked just like the quiet, religious wife people expected. She wore a chador, the long black cloak covering her head and body. She spoke softly, always with a calm tone. But behind that image, she was something completely new. Jamila didn't stay in the background. She traveled with her husband on official trips, including a big visit to Latin America. She gave interviews to foreign TV channels, including Venezuelan and American media. She spoke at conferences, met with politicians, and even organized international events. In January 2023, she held a major event in Tehran called the Congress of Influential Women. It brought together the wives of leaders from many countries, and it was her idea. Iran's foreign minister even confirmed that Jamila was the one who led the whole project. She talked about the role of women in Islam, defended Iran's laws, and presented herself as a cultural leader. She said that Khamenei's wife, who had always stayed silent, was the real first lady because she had stood by her husband during exile in prison. Some say this was her way of trying to calm down critics while still building her own profile. But her influence wasn't just public. Behind the scenes, Jamila was becoming more and more powerful. According to people who worked in the presidential office, she often interviewed potential ministers herself, asking about their views and suggesting who should get which position. She reportedly recommended candidates, including one man for education minister, even though he had no experience. Parliament later rejected his appointment. Many in Iran's leadership didn't like what they saw. According to sources, Supreme Leader Khamenei himself sent a private message to Raisi, telling him to stop his wife from interfering in government affairs. But it didn't work. Jamileh continued to have a strong voice inside the government, especially in areas like education, culture, and values. She was close to her son-in-law and his brother, both of whom had influence in economic ministries. Together, they formed a small circle of trust around the president. In a country where women were expected to stay silent, Jamila was doing the opposite. She wasn't shouting, she wasn't protesting, but she was using the system itself to rise higher than any first lady before her. Now, with Raisi gone, the question is, will that power disappear or grow even stronger? Jamileh Alamolhoda is not just a professor and political insider. She's also someone who speaks her mind, even when her words spark outrage. In June 2023, during a visit to Venezuela, Jamileh gave an interview that made headlines. She said something that shocked even many conservative Iranians. Why should we study, work, or live like men? This is a form of violence, she said. Let that sink in. For Jamila, women trying to live like men, going to work, getting degrees, being independent, was a kind of abuse. She didn't mean physical abuse. She meant that modern life was forcing women to act against their true nature. She claimed that Western countries, in the name of freedom, were actually harming women, especially in workplaces. And she said feminist movements only focus on violence inside the home, while ignoring what she called organized violence outside the family. It didn't end there. In September 2023, when Iran passed a controversial new law to punish women who didn't wear the hijab, Jamileh defended it. "It is out of respect for women," she said in an interview with ABC. The law gave courts the power to fine women or even put them in prison for not covering their hair in public. Asked if this wasn't too extreme, Jamila compared it to dress codes in schools or workplaces in the West. She said that hijab was once just a tradition. But now it's law, and laws must be followed. And anyone who breaks the law, she said, should expect punishment. When asked directly, should women go to jail for not wearing the hijab? She didn't say yes, but she didn't say no either. She simply repeated, in every country, breaking the law has consequences. After the death of Mahsa Amini, the young woman arrested for improper hijab who later died in custody, Jamila supported the official government version. She said Mahsa died from a health issue. She denied that protesters were killed by the state. Instead, she blamed foreign powers like the US for creating what she called a fake media project to make Iran look bad. Later, speaking to Al-Mayadeen, she went even further. She said that Western culture was trying to dominate the world by forcing a new definition of womanhood, and that if women in Iran or anywhere else refused this idea, they were punished, not by force, but by being silenced or ignored. In her view, the real strength of a woman comes from her role in raising children, supporting her husband, and preserving traditional values. She spoke proudly of women in Palestine, Lebanon, and Iran who raise sons that become fighters. She called this cultural resistance. To some, she sounds like a brave voice against the Western narrative. To others, she sounds like a woman defending a system that silences, jails, and even kills its own people, especially women. But one thing is clear: Jamileh Alamolhoda is not afraid to speak, even if half the world disagrees with what she says. On May 19, 2024, tragedy struck Iran. President Ebrahim Raisi was returning from a diplomatic trip near the Azerbaijani border. His helicopter crashed in the foggy mountains of East Azerbaijan. Alongside him, Iran lost its foreign minister, the governor of East Azerbaijan, and other senior officials. The country went into mourning. Black banners filled the streets. Funeral ceremonies were held. And in all the official images, Jamileh Alamolhoda was right there, dressed in black, standing with dignity. But then, she vanished. For a woman who had once been everywhere, giving interviews, organizing events, appearing alongside her husband on international trips, her sudden silence was striking. No public statements, no press appearances, not even a message on social media. And yet, her name didn't disappear. Iranian media, including the reformist newspaper Ham Mihan, began floating an unexpected possibility. Could Jamileh Alamolhoda run for president? She was mentioned among the principalist camp, hardline conservatives loyal to her late husband's vision. She had name recognition, loyal supporters, a famous cleric father. Some laughed, some were outraged, but among many conservative women, there was a quiet hope. Technically, it's legal. Iran's constitution does not ban women from running for president. But in over 40 years, the powerful Guardian Council, a group of clerics and judges who approve all candidates, has never allowed a woman to run. Not once. So as whispers of Jamileh's candidacy spread, all eyes turned to one man, supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. And that's where the story hits a wall. Reports say that even before Raisi's death, Khamenei had grown uneasy about Jamileh's growing influence. She gave too many interviews. She met with ministers. She was rumored to influence appointments, even recommending a candidate for education minister. One insider claimed the supreme leader privately told Raisi, "Control your wife." Now that Raisi is gone, so is her political shield. Just weeks after his death, the Supreme Council of the Cultural Revolution quietly removed Jamila from her post as head of the National Education Council, a role she had held since 2020. No public explanation, no official farewell. She was replaced by a man. To many observers, this looked like a message: your time is over. Still, her name kept circulating, because in Iran, where women have been silenced and excluded from power for decades, the simple fact that her name was even discussed as a potential president was a political earthquake. But in the end, she didn't run. When the Guardian Council announced the approved list of candidates for the snap election, Jamileh Alamolhoda's name wasn't on it. Instead, Iran chose a very different leader, Masoud Pezeshkian, a moderate and former health minister. He campaigned on reform, unity, and a softer tone, and he won. In late July 2024, Pezeshkian became Iran's new president. And what about the First Lady? There isn't one. Pezeshkian's wife passed away years ago. He remains unmarried, and Iran has no First Lady. The era of a visible, outspoken First Lady never really began, and perhaps never will, but a new face has started to appear in public: his daughter. Some already call her the first daughter of Iran. She's young, educated, and presentable, and in a regime where women are often hidden, that alone is remarkable. Still, for now, she plays no official role. And the dream of a powerful First Lady, the kind Jamileh Alamolhoda once tried to be, has quietly faded into the shadows. Even if Jamileh Alamolhoda had become president of Iran, it would have been a historic moment. The first woman to ever lead the Islamic Republic, a powerful symbol, a political earthquake. But let's be honest, would anything really change? Jamileh is no revolutionary. She has defended hijab laws, harsh punishments, and government crackdowns. She stood firmly beside her husband's repressive rule. So while her victory would have broken a barrier, it likely wouldn't have broken the system. The laws would remain. The fear would remain. The silence, especially for women, would remain. But still, her story raises a powerful question. Could she come back? Could Jamileh Alamolhoda still become Iran's next president? And if she does, what kind of country would she lead? Let us know what you think in the comments. Do you believe Iran is ready for a woman president? Would Jamila bring change, or just a new face for old power? Drop your thoughts below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.